Probably the primary way in which organizations create structures is around departmentalization. And departmentalization comes in a lot of different flavors, and there's a lot of different reasons for that. Like I mentioned in a previous video, the organization structure probably ought to be designed so that it complements the strategy, what it is you're trying to accomplish, and what your competitive basis will be for being competitive in the marketplace. Departmentalization can be by function. That's probably the most common notion of departmentalization. And it has a number of advantages. Clearly, if you're an accounting student, you graduated from UCF with your accounting degree, and your desire is to go learn accounting and be around other accountants, there's a real silo effect to having functional departmentalization, because you'll be working with other accountants. So there's lots of opportunities for mentorship. In fact, people in accounting tend to use kind of a different language. I don't know what that is. I guess LIFO, FIFO, debit, credit, those kind of things. But they all know what it means, and so there's some synergy in being around people who speak the same language. UCF is divided academically in terms of departments, and we find great value in that. I'm in the management department, so when I walk around our suite area, literally anyone that I talk to knows the same stuff I do. Of course, they know a lot more than I do. And so there's a huge resource for me to tap into. I don't have to go far in the organization to find it. But there's also downsides to functional departmentalization. As a management faculty, I tend to write and work on tasks that really are most relevant to the management department, and I don't include people in accounting, finance, economics, marketing as much in my daily activities. I don't talk with them as much. I don't bump into them as much. And they're really, being around them is a fertile landscape for creativity and innovation, and people who think a little bit different than I do, and people in my department. So you have to kind of weigh the pros and the cons to this departmentalization division. You can divide yourself departmentally by product. Often the case that a division, for instance, that sells or develops or promotes and markets a product is very different within the same company. One product has got a whole different line of business than another. You can divide that departmentalization not just by product, but by who the buyer is. So we might both sell similar things. The example I always think of, it's kind of funny, is diapers. Same product, but different customer when you sell to mothers of infant children who need diapers. And then, of course, there are diapers like Depends, or whatever those different name brands are, which are for incontinence for either disabled people or elderly people who have incontinent problems. So you would obviously market very differently. The product is a little bit different in terms of size and how it probably attaches. I don't know the ins and outs, but they're different businesses. So you might make the choice that those two divisions should be separated by who the buyer is. There's geographic departmentalization, and that makes sense if you have a region operating particularly like overseas, or even in the United States in another region, where the market is all different, where consumer purchases are different, where laws and regulations are different, where you need a different team that has a different set of skills to be successful in that different area. By customer, I mentioned that, and then, well, those are the four: a functional, by department, product, geographic, and by customer. Now, how do you make the decision as to how to departmentalize yourself? Well, you probably look at industry standards. You look at other companies that are competing with you and how they're organized, how they're structured. If you have similar strategies to theirs because you're in the same marketplace, maybe you mimic what they do. As time goes on, you look at where there are efficiencies and where there are inefficiencies, and you make judgments as to how you might probably slowly over time make changes to your structure. You're always engaged in a cost-benefit analysis. For any change in organizational structure, there's probably associated costs to doing so, and those costs are immediate upfront and they're long-term. You either create opportunities for yourself, and I mean, obviously that would be the desire, but you might also then limit your opportunities by going to product departmentalization. For instance, the advantage is you have two groups selling the same or two similar products, but so they can be more efficient on their own. But on the other hand, like the management marketing, departmentalization I was talking about at UCF, those two groups don't have as much reason to interact with one another and share best practices and so on and so forth. So difficult decisions probably that you make over time, always engaged in a cost-benefit analysis, trying to determine what's the right mix of closeness and distance between products or service delivery, marketing functions. How integrated should this organization be, or how disintegrated should it be to create the kinds of efficiencies that will make us more competitive in the marketplace? In the end, our goal is to sell goods and services that are unique to our customer base, but also do it with such efficiency that our prices or our costs are so low that we can hopefully have higher prices, lower cost, and bigger profit margin. We do that by organizing ourselves in the most efficient and effective way.